And we are recording. Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode of the Bore and Stoke podcast, brought to you by the 50th anniversary Honda Goldwing. Before we get started, actually, we're going to take a super quick ad break right off the bat to hear from our sponsor. So get this, 50 years ago, Honda drops the Goldwing and totally rewrites the book on long-distance riding. And here we are, launching the Bore and Stoke podcast. Coincidence? Maybe. But we like to think great things start with bold moves, so maybe in 50 years we'll be celebrating our podcast anniversary, just like Honda is celebrating the Goldwings. Brought to you by Honda Power Sports, this episode is powered by the 50th anniversary Goldwing. If you're going to ride something legendary. All right, and now with that out of the way, today's guest needs very little introduction, but it does need a preamble. Today's guest will not be answering any sort of corporate questions. I'm not going to be getting into any sort of hard-hitting questions about the business. You'll understand why once you see who this guest is. We're not going to go there. It's not worth it. We're here to have a good time. I want to hear some fun stories, and the guest we have coming up has a lot of cool, fun stories to tell. And I think once you see who it is and once you get through the episode, you'll have a better understanding of what this person represents and the brand that they represent is all about. So without further ado, let's get into it. And really, when you think about the most iconic names in motorcycling, the name Davidson is right there at the top, right? And our guest today is Bill Davidson. Yes, that Davidson. He's the son of Willie G. Davidson and the great-grandson of William A. Davidson, one of the original founders of Harley Davidson Motor Company. You've all heard of Harley Davidson, right? And so it's very special that we have one of the family here to talk to us. Bill spent his entire life steeped in the culture, business, and legacy of Harley Davidson, from growing up around the factory floor to eventually serving as vice president of the Harley Davidson Museum and playing a key role in product development and brand experience. He's lived and breathed this stuff in a way very few people ever could. But beyond the job titles, Bill's also a writer, a storyteller, and a proud torchbearer of a family legacy that shaped more than 100 years of two-wheeled history. Today, we're going to talk about what it was like growing up in that world, how Harley has changed over the years, and what it really means to carry a name that's literally built into the logo. So, with that said, Bill Davidson, welcome to the Bore and Stoke podcast. We are so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Troy. It's good to be here, and I can't wait to share some of these fantastic stories I have with you guys.
Yeah. We've been trying to get you on here for a while now, and just our schedules didn't match up. So I'm really jazzed to be talking to you today. And so, if you're ready, why don't I ask you our first question? You ready?
Fantastic. Yep.
All right. So, you've talked about how one of your earliest memories as a 6-year-old was hopping on the M50 and going on your first ride, and your dad hopping off the back, and that's when you really felt what it was like to ride a motorcycle. Just recap for the viewers and listeners here, your definition of what that freedom felt like.
You know, it was a really special day, and I think for all the riders listening, we can all remember back to that first day where you take the handlebars in your hands and you take over that control for the first time, and that overwhelming sense of freedom when you know you're in control. And in my case, I was on a Harley Davidson M50. My dad, Willie, was on the back, and he was kind of telling me what to do. And we got to a point where he said, okay, I'm going to slide off the back of the bike. And he did. And then I was going by myself. And I will never, ever forget that feeling, that sense of freedom and being in control. And I was at a young age. I was 6 years old. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Could you even understand at 6 years old what just happened?
You know, because I grew up from day one in the around Harley Davidson. I mean, going down to our headquarters on Saturday afternoons in my dad's sidecar when I was 3 years old, and being around bikes, being around race bikes, um, I did know, and I wanted to learn how to ride in the worst way, and I did, and I've never looked back. It's been an amazing career, an amazing experience, really almost a dream come true every day.
Yeah, that gets to my next question here. The story of you and the M50 you've said before, but what I'm kind of curious to know about is, do you have a memory or something you can think back to when you actually understood or felt the weight of your name and what it meant to other people, so many other people? Is there an experience that kind of stands out to when you finally understood that?
I am very fortunate along with my brother and sister because our mentors, our inspiration, my mom and my dad, Nancy and Willie, were really good about ensuring that we weren't overwhelmed with that.
Hmm.
And especially when we were growing up, we were doing everything like anybody else in the neighborhood was doing, going camping, playing baseball, playing football, throwing the frisbee, going to the local pool, going fishing, and riding dirt bikes. And our
Hmm.
friends had dirt bikes. And it wasn't until probably high school time where you're honing in on a career path and you're starting to get more into the academics. And I then started to think about Harley Davidson and the business and the strategies and how cool it would be to become a main player in the company. And so probably when I was a sophomore in high school is when I really started to focus on it. And um, I started racing motocross right about then as well on a Harley Davidson 250. And
Oh
I
yeah.
actually just had that motorcycle renovated by Lou Gerencer. His dad used to run a dealership down in Elkhart, Indiana, and also used to be the national pro hill climb champ.
Hmm.
Lou Gerencer restored the bike for me, and it's in my garage, and it's beautiful. It's really cool. But
That same bike.
that same bike,
Oh,
my same
oh wow,
250 motocross bike. Yeah.
that's amazing.
And the other thing that inspired me during that time is I kept that bike at my grandfather's house. And my grandfather had been president of the company from 1942 to roughly 1973. And he took the company through quite a bit when you think about it.
Hmm.
And having my race bike there and going over there to put new rings in it or rebuild it or what have you, my grandfather was always right there with me. And we were always talking about the company and the business and the cool things he was able to do. And it just really, really inspired me. And so I knew that when I graduated from high school, I wanted to continue on, get my education, and one day, my dream was to work at Harley Davidson.
So none of that was kind of pressured onto you as a child, was it?
No, and this is my mom and dad were so incredible during our childhood because they truly wanted us to pursue our own dreams.
Hmm.
Um, and my dream was motorcycles. I
Yeah.
From that day I started riding at 6 years old, then I started racing, and then learning more and more about the company. And as my education continued to grow, I thought, man, what an awesome opportunity to come on board and help influence and help strategize where we go as a team with the overall company and where we're going to take it. And so, my it's interesting because there's times where I'm approached by customers, riders, and they'll say, "What's it like working for your dad?" And it triggers a couple of thoughts immediately. One, I couldn't ask for anything better than to be able to work with my dad. I never worked for my dad. I worked with my dad.
Mm,
And I
mm,
had 15 years in product development where I was working alongside Willie and the styling crew and the engineers and manufacturing and marketing. And those were some of the best days of my 41-year career so far.
yeah.
And it's just, there was never any pressure. It was always kind of a love affair with the brand, just like my mom and dad, just like my sister, my brother, my grandfather. It's we bleed orange and black because
Right.
we love it. You know,
Right.
it's an awesome brand.
It's probably, I'm going to assume here that your love for the brand is because you were never pressured into it from a young age. You had the opportunity to discover it for yourself, right?
Absolutely, and I'm so glad because the other thing I get is, oh, it must have been nice to just have a job when you graduated, and
Mm,
I give that detail out, and which is I didn't join the company right after I graduated. I went to a small engineering company to get my feet wet and gain some experience. And then there was an opportunity in 1984, and that was a year right after we had bought the company back in 1981. And those were some really rough years. So, really
yeah.
critical that we made the right business decisions.
Yeah.
And one of the business decisions was when we launched in 1984 the Evolution motor, we wanted
Hmm.
to start a demo ride program to
Hmm.
literally get people on our bikes to show them the quality changes and the improvements. Well, I was hired on board to create that corporate demo ride program. And I went through 3 interviews before I landed the job. And I've always been very proud for acquiring the position for what I knew in my background and my experience.
Yeah, I think that's a detail that's not stressed enough or maybe not as well known as you didn't just, have it handed to you. You actually
No,
had to work for it.
yeah,
And and the legacy of the demo ride program lives on today.
it
So,
does. Yeah,
I mean, there's a legacy for you.
yeah. And
Um,
it's evolved. It's so awesome now what they do. I remember going to Daytona and Sturgis years ago. We had an old golf car trailer that we converted to haul 12 demo bikes. Now we show up with over 100.
right, right, right.
So,
I mean, yeah, you have your finger on the very beginnings of that, so that must be
yeah,
very special.
yeah, it is.
Um, I guess the a different angle to that same question would be: do you have a certain early memory of a complete stranger letting you know what the brand means to them, and then how that has impacted your decisions going forward?
Well, so growing up as a family member, doing things with my grandfather, who was president, doing things with my mom and dad. Willie was in full swing, if you will, as the lead designer at Harley Davidson. And so listening to him talk about his desires to create future motorcycles.
Hmm.
My grandfather's discussions with me early on when I was racing, and him talking about strategies and things he tried and didn't work, or things that he did try and it worked really well. And um, then I had all of that background, but then as I started to go to events like Daytona, Sturgis, a lot of the dirt track races when Jay and Scotty and Chris Carr and Randy Goss and all those guys. My dad loved racing. My dad used to race, and we still love racing. And to hang out at the track with those riders and talk to customers, and you started to see the essence of Harley Davidson and the magic it plays with our customers and how much it means to them. Um, I started seeing all the Harley Davidson tattoos, and I'm like, holy man, this means a lot to that individual. And so it was very, very exciting to see these people that lived and breathed Harley and couldn't get enough of it. And what's really cool is, in a lot of ways, our brand is timeless, because those same experiences I had in my early career days, I'm having today, only in a much bigger way, because the brand has gotten to be a global Fortune 500 level
Sure.
brand. And to
Sure.
see how it impacts people from all walks of life, from all corners of the world, no matter where I go in the world, is it's fantastic.
That must never get old.
No, it's you know it's really interesting. It reminds me of riding a motorcycle,
Hmm.
because when you get on a really cool twisty road and you're kind of following the front wheel, you never know what's going to be around the corner, or what little country cafe is going to be there that you
Hmm.
can stop at. And it's that same feeling with meeting people and the
Hmm.
experiences and the stories you hear. And you never know what you might run into. And it's been
Sure.
really rewarding.
Yeah, so that was a good tie into my next question here of you've mentioned it already, but not just like what does the Harley Davidson brand mean to you personally, but also how has that meaning changed over time?
So there's so many different incredible ingredients that go into our brand. And it's everything from the look, sound, and feel of our products, the clothing, our phenomenal dealer network, our history. And when you start to bring all these things together, it creates experiences, and experiences create emotion. And so when I think of our brand, if I had to come up with one word that really sums it up, it's emotion.
Hmm.
It's that feeling of riding, it's meeting people, and the excitement of going to new locations, to a different rally, to a different race, watching Kyle win the King of Baggers race up at Road America. I mean, it's all of those things. And when you think about that and you peel back that onion, it really gets down to awesome emotions and excitement. And that's what it means to me. And part of that, I've always talked a little bit about the magic behind Harley Davidson. There's things that it's just a feeling. Um, when you go for a neat ride on a road glide or a street glide, and you ride 100 miles and you pull over and you stop, and you're just kind of looking at the bike in amazement because of what it's delivered for you. It's brought you to this place of comfort. It's soothing. The beat of the V twin, and it's like a heartbeat, and
Hmm.
it's just it's really. I always tell people, if you get the chance, just take one for a demo ride, take one for a test ride, just to try it, because it's such a different animal, if you will, than anything else. Riding a Harley is a it's an amazing experience.
And then yeah, that singular emotion kind of withstands the test of time because like the follow up to that question was how has that meaning changed for you over time, but
So,
you know.
and you think about that, because When I first took over the Harley Davidson Museum, which is a location everybody should visit, even if you're not a rider, it is just, it's 122 years of an American icon that has been through thick and thin, and the stories and the product that are on display, it's really, really, really incredible. But
Yeah.
what's really cool, I think back to my great grandfather and my two great uncles, William A., my great grandfather, my two great uncles, Walter and Arthur, and then their good friend Bill Harley, the founders of the company. And these guys were in their early 20s with a dream to create a motorized bicycle of some sort.
Hmm.
Well, they took it a step further because the 1903 single is truly a motorcycle because they designed the chassis and the engine.
Right.
Um,
Together. Yeah.
and I can just feel their emotions when they rolled that first serial number one, which is now at the museum, out of the 10 by 15 wooden shed. Their excitement must have been just unbelievable. And and it's growing, it's growing the dealer network, growing our customer base, introducing the Harley Owners Group back in 1983 when we
Hmm.
more solidified, if you will, the connection between rider and company. And it's one of the best riding clubs in the world.
I mean, when you consider the fact that back then, 19 in the early 1900s, there were literally hundreds of motorcycle brands
Yes.
trying to carve a name for themselves, and
Yeah.
well, two made it out for a
Yes.
while.
Yes.
We won't talk about the other one right now, but but the enduring legacy of Harley Davidson to withstand all of that and come out of all of that is I mean the definition of a success story.
Yes. and
Um,
and what's really neat, Troy, we have never stopped for 122 years. We have never stopped production.
mhm,
We have been producing motorcycles for 122 years continuously, which is
mhm,
a very powerful statement because we went through a
mhm,
lot. We went through, World War One, World War Two, the Great Depression, all the different manufacturers you mentioned as competition. Which, the competition is good. It makes you smarter. It keeps you on your toes. You learn things. Um, but it's we are a survivor, and I think one of the things that the founders really got into the bricks, if you will, um, is the drive for success.
hmm,
They each had unique strengths. The four of them each had unique strengths, and I think bringing them together as a team helped build that foundation of we're going to be successful. We're not going to give up. And they had some trying moments, though. No money, and things were breaking, and but they kept at it, and it's kind of like a Cinderella story. 1903, and the other thing that's really interesting and really proves their success. By 1920, they were shipping motorcycles to 68 different countries around the world.
yeah,
So in
that's
17
pretty
years,
amazing.
it's amazing.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, tying in the past and the present and even the future, how do you see or how do you balance preserving Harley's heritage while pushing the brand into the future? And especially when we're talking about electric motorcycles like the Livewire, um, I think Harley Davidson is in a very special and specific place to where there is so much heritage, but time waits for nobody. And
Right.
so the future is always calling. So how do you balance past, present, and future?
This is a really exciting part of the business. because you get to dream, you get to innovate, you get to create. You are allowed to use new technology, new materials, different things, and it's it is like a big toy store, a big sandbox where you start with a clean sheet of paper and you dream just like the founders dreamt. You know, when we developed V-Rod, for example, that was leaning into the future with a whole new type of motorcycle, a 60-degree water cooled motor that had proven itself with the VR 1000. And we thought, it's a really durable engine. Let's make it street legal. And so we said, let's put it into kind of a low, long, lean, kind of a muscular looking, drag bike looking um, motorcycle. And we called it
Mm-hmm.
the V Rod. I was proud to name that bike. I had a lot to
Oh yeah.
do. Yeah, it was a really cool process that we went through. But that's, something. I mean, another one is the Pan America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where we look at the global marketplace and we ask ourselves, where is there business opportunity? And we see adventure touring, the significance of it in the European market, but it's also growing substantially in the US market. And the Revolution motor is a phenomenal motor. And we built an incredible adventure touring motorcycle. In fact, I just got off mine and I was running a little late, so I had her going pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Uh,
But you know what's neat about these bikes is, I think, yes, we have tradition. Our bikes are timeless. You think of the Fat Boy, you think of the Street Glide, you think of the Road Glide, you think of Softails, Sportsters. They're timeless. We are responsible for growing the business, and we need to look at other opportunities. But when we look at these other opportunities, I promise you, we are talking about look, sound, and feel. And before we ever put the name Harley Davidson on an air cover or on a fuel tank or whatever, it has to meet certain criteria that we all feel. And we do a lot of customer surveying on some products, that it feels right. It feels good. And the V Rod was a home run in Europe and in the US. It was different. Um, and these bikes, they work well, and people love them. And so it's a fun arena to think, okay, how can I continue with the heritage and lineage
mm-hmm.
and move forward into these other arenas? And I mentioned the Street Glide, the Road Glide, and even the new Softails. Those bikes absolutely have a heritage to them, more so than a V Rod or a Pan America, because
Mm-hmm.
those are new, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Sure.
when you think of a Fat Boy, introduced in 1990, we just introduced a beautiful called the Gray Ghost, a 35th anniversary Fat Boy.
Yep.
Looks awesome. It's got that chrome appearance is actually paint, so that's
Hmm.
advanced technology. LED lighting. It's got algorithms on the bike for the different modes of riding. I mean, it's a really sophisticated motorcycle, but it carries forward the essence of a Fat Boy, the
Right.
from the original. And when you think of
Right.
Street Glide and Road Glide, those bikes are doing the same thing. So styling works very hard at looking at the past, bringing that lineage forward, but tweaking it so that it has a new appearance, but when you look at it, you can say to yourself, ah, I know what that's related to.
Hmm. No, that's interesting you say that because I would argue that Harley Davidson, more than any other motorcycle manufacturer, has the most unique challenge in that they, like any other manufacturer, you have to innovate and look at the future, but you can't alienate your customers, your core customers, and walking that tightrope of
Yeah.
meeting all of those challenges probably is the biggest, in my opinion, biggest challenge for Harley Davidson, more so than maybe any other manufacturer out there.
Yeah. And thank goodness for technology, right? Where we can bring in new technology, we can innovate,
Mm-hmm.
we can do things differently, which allow us to maintain the lineage moving forward. And
Mm-hmm.
I wrote. We used to write these uh, creative essays, if you will, in marketing. And I wrote one that was called "Sophisticated Simplicity."
Hmm.
And when you look at a Harley, there's a beauty about it. It's Willie always referred to it as a watercolor. From front to
Hmm.
back, that motorcycle has reason. There's proportions that relate to one another. There's materials that work with one another. So it's a it's a rolling sculpture. And when you look at it, inside its skin is extremely sophisticated technology.
Yeah. That's so interesting you mentioned that because like we were talking about before we hit the record button here is, I've maybe pigeonholed myself into more of that high performance, fast guy image, blah blah blah. But when I've hopped on the current generation, current any Harley Davidson model, but my most recent one was a Street Glide, like I mentioned before. It's and you sit on it and you ride it and you really look at the details of the bike. A lot of my riding friends are like, "Oh, you're riding a Harley Davidson. That's the same old thing. That they've been making the same bikes for over and over and over again." And I have to stop them and be like we've talked before, they're trying. Harley has to tread a very fine line of
Yes.
innovation without alienation.
Yes.
And when I like I said, the most recent one was a Street Glide. That Street Glide I rode was extremely modern. All the modern tech, all the modern, you know, design, engine work, engine technologies as far as fueling and how when you twist the throttle, it's a very accurate feel from twisting it to the
Mhm.
power to the back tire, and the technology is all there. It's just packaged in a design that you would understand as a Harley Davidson, which comes out, as you said, through emotion when you're actually riding the motorcycle.
Yes.
It all makes sense once you're rolling down the road, enjoying the sights, looking around, feeling that rumble between your legs.
Yeah.
It's all cliche, right? This has been
Yes.
said over and over before, but a cliche can be true sometimes.
Yes.
And this is a perfect example of like, well, this might be a cliche thing to say, but it all ties together very well, and it's possibly, I'm probably going to get flack for saying that, but it's something I really think is true. Is these new Harley models combine the past and the future better than a lot of people give it credit for
Yeah.
outside of the circle that already loves the brand.
Yeah.
um, and it's kind of my job to be impartial about such things, as a quote unquote journalist. But
Yeah.
credit where credit is due, the bikes work well.
Yeah, they do, and thanks for that, Troy. They are incredible motorcycles, and I'm leaving for Sturgis in a couple of weeks here, and I'll be on a 2025 CVO Street Glide with a 135 cubic inch motor in it. And I rode that same bike on the Kyle Petty cross country ride, fundraising ride for Victory Junction Hospital. And to talk to a number of NASCAR riders that were, or drivers that were riding Harley Davidsons, and just hear what they thought of their bikes they're on. Most of them were on new ones. They love them and they work well, to your point. And that, the one thing that I've recognized that I do, and I think many other riders do, and maybe you did on your street glide ride, but I'll go out for a Sunday afternoon or a short ride, and I'll get home and I'll put the bike on the kickstand and I'll start walking to go do something, and all of a sudden I catch myself stopping to turn around and look at the bike. Like,
Yeah.
wow, what an incredible experience that motorcycle just delivered for me. It's
Right.
incredible. And it is
Yeah.
unique. It's, one thing that when I was in product planning, we ride the competition. We need to. We
Hmm.
need to know what they're doing, what's
Hmm.
happening and what's happening. And it was a pretty neat experience because you realize how awesome and how unique our bikes truly are, especially our current offering that's in the dealerships today.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I take that back. I did ride a street glide, but more recently I got a chance to ride the road glide, the CVO road glide RR.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, holy moly, that was a wild ride.
Yeah.
That was a wild ride.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, which just encapsulates everything we just said about past, present, future
Mhm.
technology, power, emotion. That bike, especially for the fast guy junkie in me,
Yeah.
really, really got the blood boiling, and that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Um, I think let's see. Let's take a quick break here right now to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Okay, quick break because we've got to talk about the Honda Goldwing. 5 decades in, and it's still the bike for taking on those bucket list rides in total comfort. Smooth power from that iconic flat six engine, plus all the storage, wind protection, and tech you could want. Whether you're crossing the country or just heading out for a long weekend, the Goldwing makes every mile count. Check out the 50th anniversary edition now at powersports.honda.com. All right, Bill. So, with all this talk about past, present, future, I'm sure you get this all the time, but I'm going to ask it again. Your favorite model and why?
I love this question, because it's an easy answer for me. All of them.
Fair
um,
enough.
it's what's really cool about our product lineup is we really have a motorcycle for just about any kind of desire to ride out there, from adventure touring to the Rev Max and the Sportster and the Softails. I mean, the touring bikes, the performance stuff we're working on. That's a result of a lot of the King of the Bagger racing we're doing. It's incredible right now what's out there, and to pick one is really difficult for me. That's why I have a pretty significant collection. But if I sometimes I'm asked what's my favorite bike in the museum, um,
Hmm.
because I was involved with that business for a number of years, and I answer kind of the same way, all of them. However, if I really honed in, the one that means the most to me because it's my family is serial number one, 1903. That first bike. My great grandfather, my two great uncles developed that bike and have grown an amazing company as a result of bringing people together, creating a dealer network, continued to innovate, And
That makes sense.
it's that one is every time I go in that room at the museum, I get goosebumps.
Yeah. I've been in that room myself, and same thing. Like, wow, this is where it all started.
Yeah.
That's Without this, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Right.
So
Right.
it's I I I love just going to museums in the first place, no matter what it is, and just piecing history together. That's
Yeah.
very fascinating for me. So, no, I definitely understand that. Let me back up a second and touch on something you said about riding the competition. Um, you don't need to name any names, but can you think of an example of a competitor's product where you thought that's pretty good? Like XYZ thing is impressive, or you understood the philosophy behind what such and such manufacturer did.
There were many times, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of good motorcycles out there,
Yeah.
and this is what makes us work harder,
Yeah.
and to have the lead and to have the cutting edge and continue the uniqueness of a Harley Davidson. And I love when you go to a rally and you never see two Harleys alike, because we not only have an amazing business of motorcycles, but we have an amazing business of parts and accessories where you can create your own, you can customize, you can go down the performance route. You can take your Pan America and build it into a bigger dirt bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible, and I think that's a part of our business where we truly lead and offer our customers a really fun experience by changing it or modifying it and truly making it your own, so it's yours.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty underappreciated aspect of Harley Davidson is the fact that the bike you buy off the dealership floor is just the beginning.
Yes.
What what you do after that, that the factory enables, it is maybe, I could be wrong here, but it's probably more substantial than any other manufacturer I can think of right now.
Yeah, it's substantial, and it's exciting, and it's when you go to an event, whether it's a race or a rally, or even if you're hanging out at a coffee shop and a bunch of bikes pull up, it's so cool to me how the conversation with strangers always goes to, "Hey, what'd you change on your bike? What'd you modify? What's new?" Um, and it's exciting.
Do you think there's a pressure now to keep that? There's so many growing regulations and rules and laws now. Customization of a motorcycle is harder than before, but maybe it allows both the manufacturer and the owner to be more creative than before. Is that an accurate statement?
I think creativity is one of those kind of timeless ingredients to the Harley Davidson brand. Because even going back to the founders when they were getting into racing, in those early years, they were modifying things, they were
Sure.
customizing things, they were
Sure.
removing weight, they were creating more horsepower. And
Sure.
so I think creativity evolves, and certain things will make it more challenging at times, but that just makes us work harder to figure out where we're going to go next. And
Mm-hmm.
the offering we have right now, I think, is the best we've ever had. It's absolutely phenomenal.
With that being said, what do you say, or what would you say to younger riders who maybe see Harley Davidson as a quote unquote brand for their dad?
What's really exciting is We have always had an influx of younger riders coming into this brand since 1903.
Hmm.
It's just how it makes it work, right? I mean, people age out, new people come in. And there's a really neat thing happening right now with there's some programs out there. One is called the Build program. I don't know if you've heard about that, where high school kids are building these bikes and racing them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Really an awesome program, and they're learning through these creating these race bikes, technical skills, and it's really cool. The rally like Born Free, that tends
Yeah.
to be a much younger rally, young custom builders, guys that are buying used Sportsters and getting together as a group and having fun hanging out at each other's homes to work on this bike.
Hmm.
We see a lot of that happening, and it's really encouraging, because obviously, as a company, we need new riders to come in, and we like the young riders to come in and encourage others. And um, so we're excited about it. And if I am approached by somebody that kind of says, "Well, I'm not ready for that," I just kind of say, do yourself a favor and get down to a local Harley Davidson dealership and take one for a ride, and then come back and talk to me.
Right. Yeah. Nothing will either change or solidify opinions than
Yeah,
actually trying it.
yeah.
In your opinion, what was a pivotal decision in Harley's history that you think changed the company forever?
Well, I mean, probably the most important one was buying the company back in 1981.
That's what I was thinking
Um,
too.
that was a very stressful time frame for us. My grandfather, who was president in 1969, had to make a decision, and it was a very serious decision about selling the company to another brand. And it was the first time the company was leaving family hands, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, and that's when we sold to American Machine and Foundry, AMF. And my grandfather and a lot of other executives did a lot of research, met with them. We we saw that they were into leisure products, like skedaddler snowmobiles and Crestliner
Hmm.
boats and Voight gym equipment, head ski gear. So we thought, perfect. This is a perfect alignment with recreational product division and da 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 da. They the AMF leadership operated a little bit differently. Um, and they were really interested in getting motorcycles out the door as fast as they could to make as much money as they could as quickly as they could. And they lost sight of what the competition was doing. They lost sight of our quality. And for all kinds of reasons, we started to lose market share, and the company really started to take a dive. And AMF came to us and said, "Hey, we want to sell you." And we couldn't find a buyer because our budget was, there was nothing there. It was, we were bleeding. And
Hmm.
so, thank goodness we had an amazing gentleman by the name of Vaughn Beals, who was our CEO at the time. He put together a plan and approached his executive team and said, "What do you guys think about buying the company back ourselves? And we're each of us is going to have to put in our personal investment into the company." And they were all in because they believed in a couple of things. They believed in an iconic American brand. They believed in our dealer network, and they believed in the emotion that is emitted from a Harley Davidson. And they knew that we could change a lot of the issues that we were having around quality, around manufacturing, around inventory, around allowing our employees to have more say in the eventual outcome of the quality of the product. And they were right. They were able to buy the company back after many struggles, and basically took the company and turned it upside down and set it upright again and started implementing new ways of doing things. And it's an amazing turnaround story, and it's a story that's studied by many universities around the world, because it's nobody would have believed that we were going to be able to pull out of that. And in fact, we
Sure.
were literally within hours of bankruptcy before we
Hours.
hours. I
Wow.
remember so we bought the company back in 81. We did a leverage buyout, so personal investment plus a fairly significant loan. And that was through Citibank. And then Citibank backed out. That was
Hmm.
in late 84. And so here we are. They just bought the company. The bank has pulled out. And we're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh my gosh,
Uh-oh.
what are we going to do
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
And so we were in search of another financial partner. And I'll never forget, it was New Year's Eve of 1985. And we had to have a new loan agreement January 1 of 1986.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was 7 o'clock at night. I was having dinner with my mom and dad and my brother and my sister, and we were waiting for a phone call from our CEO, Vaughn Beals, to tell us if we did it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know. And our legal counsel had prepared stacks and stacks of paperwork for filing for Chapter 11 and another pile of paperwork for moving forward.
Oh
And
wow.
I'll never forget that. Um, and thank goodness when the phone rang, we knew it was Vaughn. And my dad, Willie, got up and answered the phone. And did you hear what I said? Got up and answered the phone. There were
Yeah.
no
I gotcha. For the kids listening out there, there
That's
weren't
right.
cell phones back
That's
then.
right. This is
You had to get up and
1985. And
answer a corded phone on the wall.
that's right. Exactly. And thank goodness Dad yelled out, "We did it!" And we celebrated the rest of the night. And we had a lot of work cut out for ourselves, but in a short amount of time, our demand started to go through the roof. People
Hmm.
wanted Harleys left and right. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story that's already been well told, but it never gets old hearing it again.
Yeah.
And I guess I wasn't aware of the such that critical timeline you just mentioned right now.
It's incredible.
That's yeah, that's and then look where you've come now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Exciting.
um, well, part of you no way you would have known this back in 1985 6, but how do you feel now about the rise of adventure touring and sport touring bikes in the Harley's lineup? I mean, the Pan America clearly becomes that model that stands out in that field. That's quite a departure for the brand.
Yeah. I think it's really incredible. The bike itself is absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, I just got off mine. I absolutely love it. I it's such an incredible bike to ride. Um, the performance, the comfort, the capabilities of the bike, and some of
Mm-hmm.
the technologies that we put into the bike, the way the suspension lowers and then rises back up, is so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I love showing that off.
It is cool. It is. It's such a simple thing, but
Yeah,
people
and
blow their minds out by
yeah,
showing it to them.
it is. And I think it's really neat in that we're proving to the world that we can break away and build some incredible, competent motorcycles to compete against the world's best and do very well. And the Pan America is one of those bikes, and it's it's an incredible motorcycle.
That's a perfect tie into my next question here of what would you say is the biggest misconception people have about Harley Davidson or its riders?
So a lot of people think our bikes are like they could never afford one. They just can't reach that milestone, that they're very, very expensive. And they, when you look into it, they're they are affordable, and we have lots of programs through Harley Davidson Financial Services that make them even more affordable. And now the Nightster is under 10 grand. It's a hell of a motorcycle for under 10 grand. And there's the used market out there. You can get a nice Harley for a very reasonable price and get into the sport and get into the whole Harley experience. It's very doable, and I talk to a lot of people when I travel, and I always say to people, keep your dream alive, because you can do it. You can do it, and once you do it, you will say to yourself, I wish I would have done this sooner.
Hmm.
And I think, as far as our riders, and some people may have a different feel about our riders, we have some of the most authentic, genuine people in the world that ride our products. And it's so cool for me to be able to travel around the world and go to a rally or go to a MotoGP event or whatever it might be and feel at home
Hmm.
because of the camaraderie that exists amongst our riders. It's such a unique thing in the industry, and it's it's part of that whole Harley Davidson experience and emotion we've been talking about. And our riders, they're incredible people. They are very willing to volunteer time, like in the Harley Owners Group, the Hog chapters, volunteering their time to raise money for charities, all kinds of different charities. All the military first responders that ride Harley Davidsons and everything they've done for our country and for all of us. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and there's a lot of great people um, associated with Harley Davidson, from celebrities to I rode. This was amazing. On the 100th anniversary, we were in Barcelona, and they put the family at the front of the parade, and in front of us were the King of Spain, his guards, all on Harley Davidsons,
Wow.
and they made a wedge to get us through the tens of thousands of people that had come out to watch the parade go through
Wow.
the streets of Barcelona. And they were awesome people. It was, and I'm riding, I'm thinking, holy man, these are the king's guards.
No pressure.
You're right.
Oh, what a story. Um, one, well, one last question for you, sort of. Um, if you could give one piece of advice to a new Harley owner, what would you say?
Boy. Um, First of all, I would say thank you. Thank you for your
Sure.
support, um, and enjoy it. Enjoy it, respect it. Um, and I'm a big one for rider education. Hopefully they've taken a course, riding academy through one of our dealers. There's plenty of courses out there. I think it's an awesome uh, course to take.
Yeah.
I've even taken refresher courses, even though I've been riding my entire life. I take a
Right.
refresher course every so often just because it reminds you of the things that you need to be focused on. And, but, the biggest thing is to enjoy it and have fun.
Simple but effective.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I do have what I like to call a rapid fire round for you. So, bonus questions that just off the cuff, give me whatever comes to your mind. Only 3 questions. I'll keep it simple. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1, your favorite ride destination?
Oh, boy. You threw me a loop right away. Because every time I throw a leg over a Harley Davidson, it's a great ride. Um, Favorite riding destination. Man.
Okay, you can name more than one if you want.
All right. So I had the opportunity to ride through South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Incredible. I had no idea it was such a motorcycle friendly environment with awesome roads. Just
I've
absolutely incredible. We rode from Johannesburg up through Swaziland down to Margate, South Africa.
mhm. Mhm.
That ride was spectacular.
I've never been at that, just makes me want to go even more.
Yeah, really cool. But of course,
Okay.
the annual treks to Sturgis. I love riding across the plains and taking back roads and down to Daytona in March. It's always, we're in the thick of winter up here in Wisconsin, so it's always
Mhm.
good to fly into one of our dealers and grab a rental bike and ride into Daytona.
Sure. Next question. Most underrated Harley Davidson ever made?
So we had a bike. Um, I think it was 2009, 2010 time frame. It was called the XR 1200. It was a Sportster. And there was a Vance and Hines XR 1200 road racing series. Um, I have an XR 1200 in my collection, as well as a 1983 XR 1000. But I think the XR 1200 was a pretty phenomenal motorcycle. Um, it is a ball to ride. It's just fun. So, and I think its life was a little short lived. I think that bike had my. This is me speaking, but I think that bike had some life left in it, and
Hmm.
I'm sorry that we had to get rid of it.
I
But
have a funny I have a funny story to tell you about that bike, but I'll tell you that after we're done here.
okay,
I'm sorry, you were gonna continue with something? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
yeah, I think the bike was an incredible motorcycle, and it worked well. And sometimes when we have to make a decision to get rid of something, it's a really hard decision because we're balancing many things across the entire product plan. So there, in this case, there were probably other things that had higher priorities for us as far as the future goes. As the product planning bank account isn't endless.
Right,
You have
right,
X
right,
number of
right.
dollars that are dedicated to that, and you've got to stay within that budget. And so you've got to
Sure.
make some really tough choices. But
Speaking of tough choices, my last question for you. Name one rider that you would love to take a long ride with, past or present.
oh boy, So I think I would love to take a ride with Kyle Wyman.
Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
Kyle is a really phenomenal person.
I agree.
His grandfather started the Harley Davidson dealership on the Wyman farm in an old chicken coop. And it's the dealership today, obviously, is a new advanced dealership, but it's still on that farm.
Oh, wow.
And so just there's a lot of similarities between Kyle and my family. You know, Kyle with his lineage of family members running that dealership and his racing. I love racing, and we're close friends, and I enjoy his friendship. And he's very close to Willie. In fact, something really cool just occurred up at Road America where Kyle won. Kyle gave his first place trophy in winner's circle to my dad,
Wow.
and it was really cool. And so then my dad felt that he wanted to do something special for Kyle and his wife Hannah, and so my dad picked out a beautiful watercolor for Kyle and Hannah, and it's awesome. So that would be a thrill to go on a ride with Kyle and just enjoy the sights and sounds, and maybe ride a little aggressive at times. I'll never forget when we were doing a press conference. I think Paul James was there, and I believe we were out in the San Diego area, and it was for the street rod version of the V Rod. It was a little bit higher performance, and Scotty Parker was with us, and I was behind Scotty, and he came. First of all, he came by me that so fast, and that's why I was behind him. And he put that thing into a corner. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to hang with him. But
I I might have been on that one. I
uh,
think I don't remember, but
yeah,
yeah.
fun times, really fun times.
Speaking of fun times, Bill, this has been a really fun conversation. I'm this kind of verifies that yeah, it was good to have you on.
Thank you.
Um, I would love to talk some more with you, but I realize you're a busy man with a lot of other things going on in your life, and I don't want to take up your entire day, so I won't do that. Um, but I do want to say just a deep, heartfelt thank you for joining me on this conversation. Um, I hope the listeners and the viewers out there got a little bit better sense of yourself and just the Harley Davidson brand in general. Um, but yeah, next time I'm able to ride with you, that would be a lot of fun.
I look
Uh,
forward to it, Troy. It would
all
be
right.
great.
All right, everyone. I hope you would agree with me that having Bill on board just to share stories of his childhood from such a, maybe the most well known name in motorcycling has some value to you. And, I wish Mr. Honda were alive so I could talk to him too. And just, when your name is attached to a brand, I wish the opportunity to talk to the people whose names are attached to a brand is something special. And I hope you enjoyed that like I did. So, once again, thanks to Bill Davidson for joining us on this talk. Um, just a special conversation for someone like me who's a nerd about brand history and descendants of the founders. That's such a interesting link to the past. So yeah, that will do it for episode 8 of the Bore and Stoke podcast. Please, if you haven't already, go to Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is you're listening to this on, and leave us a rating. That really does help us in the long run. And, we like to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. So chime in and let us know. But yeah, that concludes episode 8 of the Born Stoke podcast. Thank you everyone for listening, viewing, however you're consuming this. And thank you to the 50th anniversary Honda Goldwing for sponsoring this series. And so with that, ride safe everyone, and we will see you in the next episode. That's it for this episode of Born Stoke, brought to you by Honda Powersports and the 50th anniversary Goldwing. Can you believe it? That's 5 decades of chasing horizons, collecting stories, and setting the bar for comfort and performance. So whether you're thinking about big miles or just big weekends, if you're going to ride something legendary. Discover the 50th anniversary Goldwing today at powersports.honda.com.